It's pretty
What are we
nice.
talking about?
What are we talking about?
This fucking haircut of yours.
Freaking
TikTok?
hydration. Did you
Let's
notice
start with
anything
fucking
from it?
TikTok.
You notice anything from what?
The TikTok.
Oh, I got a lot of people who requested to follow me, but I also don't put anything on my,
Yeah.
like
It
there's
doesn't look
nothing
your
that's
personal?
like gym related on my personal account that
Yeah.
I would have added them and they would have gotten benefit out of. It's like me and Adam going on vacation.
What should they follow? What's like
I should
the
have put
account?
your kilo.
Well, I mean, they
account.
could have followed the CrossFit. Yeah, like CrossFit Kilo.
What is it though?
The gym Cedar Falls.
The gym Cedar Falls. And then what's the quickie one?
Just Kilo Quickies workouts.
Kilo
Yep, Kilo Quickies.
Quickies with a K.
Yes.
Kilo Quickies.
Kilo cookies. I want to know about all these freaks at your gym and what they do.
Freaks.
Like the
I don't know what that means.
The regional games people, like their training, their habits.
You know, we
lifestyle.
don't have many of them anymore. It used to be where we had a ton of them. And we have some people who still do it. I run the competitor class on Thursday nights. And we do team-based workouts. We do skill work but it's a wide variety of people. Like we have multiple people who can't do a chest bar, so that's what they work on, or they can't do a pull-up, and that's what they work on, as opposed to like a bar muscle-up or a rig muscle-up. But we do a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Handstand walking and handstand push-ups and rope climbs and like skill-based work. A lot of gymnastic stuff.
So are you saying the Cedar Falls doesn't? Because there's still a kilo. Wasn't there a kilo team?
Yeah, but that's Iowa City, and they're a completely different gym now. We
Oh,
don't
okay.
really have anything to do with them.
Gotcha.
We do have two so Allie is on the Kilo 2 team. Austin used to be a member of our gym a long time ago, and then him and Armand went down to Iowa City and opened that gym, and then Austin bought it. So that's completely
Gotcha.
run by him. He even does his own programming now. Allie is down there on that team, and she was a member of ours for a long time, but she moved down to Mount Pleasant with Colton Mertens. He's the one that's qualified for the games last year, primarily training in our gym all while he was at UNI, and then he moved down to Mount Pleasant and works on his pig farm. So he trains in his shed.
You gotta be a pig farmer. That's how you,
Farmer.
Yeah.
it's different. It's different out there. We talk about
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
you got you're surrounded by farmlands.
Yeah.
So you get the college right there. So you're getting a lot of former athletes. Wrestling is huge
Mm-hmm.
in Iowa. So you're getting
Yep.
a lot of like former wrestlers that are willing to grind and
Right.
like conditioning and so you guys have like you guys have always, for a lot of years, you were sending teams. Was it more of a team focus and then there were just individuals that?
Yeah, I mean, team, it's a little bit better draw. It's a little bit easier draw. It's not quite as intimidating, and for a long time the level wasn't as high. Now all of that has changed. So it was maybe a little bit easier to be around teammates and be able to make it to regionals. Not saying that's the case with the games, but and then if like we had Kyle Flickinger, who trained with us for a long time. He was on a team for a couple years, and then there was 1 year where he qualified as an individual through the Open. So he went and did that, and then we filled his spot on the team. So we did, I don't know, from 2011 to probably 2017 or 2018 was maybe our last official games team.
Yeah, it's cool when you walk in. They have like all the banners set up and all the pictures and stuff. So it's a motivating environment, something to aspire to.
But the team were training at your gym, or was it different?
Yes, it was. Yep, it was at our gym. Yeah, we did that. We just don't. I think CrossFit has shifted away from a lot of that.
Yeah.
For many gyms, that was kind of our thing for a long time. But it was also intimidating for new people to come into, and we wanted to start to create an environment where anybody felt comfortable coming into. So sometimes people come in and they look at those posters and they're like, oh yeah, that's really cool, that's badass, like I want to do that. And then some people come in and they're like big-eyed looking up, they're like, do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Like they don't really understand. So I think the CrossFit, just in general, has shifted away from pushing competition quite as much, and our gym has specifically gone away from that, trying to benefit our community a little bit more, just getting kind of the average Joe in who maybe was a little too intimidated to start eventually.
Well, that's the original roots of CrossFit,
Right.
was it, right?
Yeah.
And then what was cool about it is it scales up. So it kind of pressed you a little bit outside your comfort zone, get more fit. But you guys, you you've taken a little bit of a turn, I guess you could say. You still offer that, but like tell us what are your guys like programs look like now?
In the past, they were kind of centered around the team. Like Armin's programming was usually for the team. A lot of the class workouts were, you're doing high volume stuff in the fall. You're doing a lot of Olympic lifting based stuff, getting ready for the Open. And then during the Open, you'd kind of tailor off a little bit. There'd be a lot of high volume gymnastics work, things like that. And then during the summer, there'd be more team oriented stuff or things that were previous games workouts or previous regional workouts for all that practice. Now it's to the point where you look at something and how can we scale that for a multitude of different people of all different levels? How can we benefit this person just as much as we're benefiting the beginner all the way up to the competitor? And what do people like? What are they going to want to come in and do to continue to motivate them to get into a gym setting? Obviously it helps our business, but we also want to grow CrossFit in the community. We want to grow exercise being normal in the community as much as possible. And you want to help people. I mean, that's why you guys are in this field too. You want to help them. You want to make them a little bit stronger or a little bit more confident, help with body images and help them lose weight and just be healthier. So that's kind of where our program has shifted. It's maybe not as many of like the 4-minute super high intensity Metcons, and it's a 30-minute, maybe more cardio-based workout that's going to keep them well-rounded and keep them safe from injury.
It's good to have options. I think what would work about the team is if you're an individual training, it's hard to push yourself to the same limits as when you're training with a group of people, holding each other accountable, benefiting from each other's experience. If someone's experiencing a lot of success, maybe they're recovering better than somebody else. People start to behave in the same way. It creates like a good culture for improvement. But
and I think that's one of the things that was so cool about it's still so cool about our gym. I mean, and that's any CrossFit gym. Everybody always talks about the CrossFit community. You're getting outside of your comfort zone, but so is the person next to you, and then you talk about it, and that's the whole. Everybody talks about CrossFit all the time. I mean, because you're doing cool things that hopefully continue to motivate you to do those. Now our job is to push people outside of their comfort zone a little bit, but not make them so terrified or so sore or injured that they can't come back. So you got to find that line of trying to motivate people, and you guys do that every day too. You want to motivate people. You want them to always get back into the gym by challenging them very little, but not scare them away at the same time. And I think sometimes with the intensity that we had 5, 6, 7 years ago, I think that scared a lot of people right away. And now we're trying to find something that's a little bit more all-inclusive while still offering the competitive side for the people that want to do that.
Right.
Armin programs a competitor doc, and if people want to do that, they can get on that, and they have additional workouts and they have additional lifting to do per week if that's what their primary focus and drive might be.
So from my understanding of team workouts, it's like very interval based, like one person goes, then the other. Was that be like the same programming at the gym?
No. I mean, sometimes. Every once in a while that used to be. But for the individual like class workouts, sometimes there was team-oriented stuff. I know sometimes on Saturdays, Armin will program team-based workouts. And that's just because it's fun. And, you're getting the intervals, so you're getting the work-to-rest ratio. That's not always the case for team workouts. A lot of ones we did at regionals, you had to work for 20 minutes and you did this movement and it was waterfall style where one person goes and then they move on and then the next person starts. But there's a lot of the interval stuff too. And some of them were super short and some of them were a little bit longer. Nothing was like a 30-40 minute grinder in regionals because nobody wanted to watch that. You got to have the fan aspect and the performance aspect too. So we used to do that a little bit more in the programming, and like I said, it's shifted away from that to get people to sweat, to get them to move, to get them to burn some calories and get a little bit stronger.
That's, I guess, what I was alluding to with the team aspect being positive, is because some of the work is broken up.
Right, yeah, for sure.
It's not as intimidating as like, all right, here's your work for today, like go get it. Like you're sharing the workload, so to speak, and
that's why it's definitely less intimidating. But that's why we still program sometimes on Saturdays. People don't love it when we program worm stuff, like the sandbag stuff. They get a little scared by that. But when you can have a partner, as long as it's somebody that you're comfortable with and you trust, like, hey, are you going to class on Saturday? I'll be your partner for that workout. Like, it sounds fun because, yeah, you work hard, but then you also get a built-in rest. And nobody's going to say no to built-in rest.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So how has the environment changed?
I think 90% of it is all positive. Like I said, we're getting more people in the gym now who probably wouldn't have stepped in the doors before because the whole name of CrossFit is starting to change. It's starting to have a little better positive tone to it.
Which is funny because you guys did CrossFit for so long, and now you're saying it's more positive now.
Yeah,
like you're into it, and now you're...
The whole premise of CrossFit has changed over time, too. Like you said, when it started, it was compete. You want as many people in your gym doing the open as you can. And I don't think those things are bad. I think there's a place for that. I think in our area, and I think with our goals and the people that we can see every day, I don't think that going 100% all that route is beneficial to us as what we've done in the last couple of years. We're still following, overall just the general principles of CrossFit, but we've tweaked them and tailored them to what we know that our clientele really likes and that they're getting benefit out of. I mean, we assess that all the time. Is there high injury risk because we've had them doing too many overhead squats and we have too many people with mobility concerns to do that? All right, we're going to back off of those. We're going to really hammer mobility, and then we'll build back up, maybe a strength program after that.
Mm-hmm. But your gym is called The Gym, so it's not technically titled CrossFit.
So that's because we have a lot of different kind of moving parts to it. So it's not just CrossFit. That's our primary one. That's our biggest, financial side to it. But we also have Kilo Cardio, another program, which is a little bit more like an Orange Theory, where you wear a heart rate monitor, you work in certain zones during the workouts. Still more of a strength component that I would say that Orange Theory offers, because we know the benefits of that, but it's a little bit more body weight or dumbbell or kettlebell. No barbell, no pull-up bar. And then we also have XL Sports, which is our strength and conditioning and like agility speed programs for athletes. We also do nutrition. We also do personal training. So that's why we call it The Gym, is because it encompasses many different things. Yeah, CrossFit's just our primary one. CrossFit Kilo is kind of one of our side ones.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So for the heart rate stuff, is that displayed on a screen somewhere?
Yep, so we use a program called Self Loops. You can either use an Apple Watch or people wear a heart rate monitor, and it's displayed up on a screen in front of them. And then we give them workouts. You're going to work for 3 minutes on this machine, and you're going to stay at 70% of your max heart rate. You're going to rotate to a different machine. You're going to stay there for 7 minutes, and you're going to work at, 3 of those minutes are going to be at 75, 1 minute at 80, 1 minute at 85. You're going to go back down to 70, And then, like I said, we incorporate strength with that, too, just because you guys know and we know the benefits of strength and not solely just rowing, running, biking, ski ergs we have in there, too.
Right.
Yeah.
High intensity. So one of the things with the super duper high intensity is like in the industry, that was the direction that it was all heading, was harder, heavier, harder. And then I think people were starting to realize that that's not sustainable. So there were elements that were working for people, but a lot of elements that weren't. People were, if you work at that high of an intensity all the time, you're going to be forced to be more sedentary during your rest.
Yeah.
So like finding the balance between the two became important, and I think gyms started to embrace that, or even CrossFit gyms and competitor-based gyms like you guys. I think having a longer term plan for clients is key, because for general people, a fitness program should have some element of consistency to it, and that's something that we experience and try to educate people on, is that intensity in increments or the right dosage is super important, as far as getting results. So that's what's interesting about, maybe your experience with the team training at the high intensity. Like, you were at a point in your life where that was your focus, right? Like you didn't have a ton of outside things going on where it gets complicated. How have you seen some of your competitor, teammates, friends, and, even some of the individuals as they've accumulated more responsibility in their life, like what does that start to look like for their fitness program?
Yeah, it's definitely changed for all of us over time, which I think is kind of the natural cycle of how it happens. I think you're right. I think intensity is a great thing. in doses and make sure it's managed correctly. And that's, why as professionals we're hopefully getting paid to do our jobs. I think a lot of people don't understand that. And being able to recover from that, I think, is a huge aspect. So yeah, when we were competitors, our primary focus was we were going to train as hard as we could when we had the opportunity, and then we were going to need to sleep and eat well and rest and recover and foam roll and stretch and all this kind of stuff. And that's where a lot of our timeline was just in recovery. And then, yeah, we got a little bit older, and a couple people ended up having kids, and so that wasn't their primary focus. Not that you can't do both, but they chose another route. Some of us became gym owners, and our and our time just gets used differently. Priorities get different. Now, there are plenty of people who are still able to train at that intensity level, even though they have families and things like that, and that's awesome. A majority of us at the gym, that's kind of why we don't have those as many competitors anymore, is because a lot of us that were doing it just found other things that we wanted to focus on. That was it for 5-6 years, and I don't think any of us got out because we were injured, or it was just kind of my time is going to be shifted focusing on something else now. I actually was listening to a podcast the other day talking about intensity, and they were talking about as you get older, you get these 50, 60-year-old men and women at the games. It's pretty cool that they're doing that stuff, right? But their time spent training, it's going to be intense, but they have to spend a lot of time training more in recovery so than a 20-year-old athlete.
Right.
They can get by maybe not eating as perfectly or not sleeping as much. When you get to be a 60 or 70-year-old or 60-year-old athlete at the games, you train really hard once a day, and you find your weaknesses that you need to work on. You can't train everything all the time because your body's not going to keep up with it, and your mind, for that matter, too.
Yeah.
So I think intensity definitely has a place, but it's got to be done correctly, just like you said.
Structure.
Yep.
And that's ultimately what, like you said, people are paying for, is the experience and the structure and the wisdom and the education to structure a plan that is going to actually work for somebody. It's easy to put something on paper, but then when you go through it,
right.
and you mentioned the natural life cycle of an athlete. I was having that conversation with a guy who played minor league baseball today. Now he's got kid, job. His workouts, he was kind of celebrating something that he did in his workout. He did a 100-pound dumbbell for 20 reps on the goblet squat, and he was pretty happy because the first time he did it, he did 14. Yeah. And he was taking that win for the day. And he's like, yeah, my fitness looks a lot different now. It used to be 1 rep on the front squat and back squat, or 5 rep max. Right. He's like, now I'm happy with a 20 rep max, and I can go play with my kid. I'm not so sore that
functional.
Yeah, when I get home, I don't want to work or do the things I need to do around the house. So it's you make those trade-offs, and having the wisdom from people that have been through it and make those subtle changes can definitely make more sense of your fitness program through the course of your life.
I think that is currently exactly smack dab where I'm at right now. I haven't been competing for the last few years, but I haven't wanted to lose where I've been at. I've wanted to be able to do, I'm maybe not doing 10 muscle ups in a row like I used to be able to, but I wanted to be able to still do a decent amount and feel proud of that. And now that I am pregnant, it's everything looks a little different, and it's a struggle at first. I'm doing strict pull-ups the other day, and God, they feel hard when I've gained like 7 pounds. But as much as maybe 5-10% of the time, I want to be back competing where I was, and I want to be able to hit a back squat PR and a muscle up PR and things like that. I'm also still proud of the fact that I'm going to do strict pull-ups throughout my whole pregnancy, and I'm going to work out 6 days a week and do things that are more comfortable, obviously lower intensity, and things that are smarter and not going to injure us. But that's it's a weird turning point when you get to that. It's hard to turn off the competitive side. I don't know that you ever really turn that off. It's just you just transition into finding something that's going to be a lot more manageable and more functional for your lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's big too, because I find that people that feel unhappy or struggle or beat themselves up mentally, it's like they have a picture of their fitness in their head, and then there's the reality of the situation, and finding some common ground there. Like you said, if I work at a percentage of my maxes of, if I get to a high percentage of something I've ever done in my life, it's like, hey, I'm
good with that. Yep.
that much older. I have that
Yep.
much more on my plate, and I'm
Yep.
still at a really high
Yeah.
percentage. Like
Your goals have to align with reality.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the types of people you find to either be successful in a gym, or you can continue to motivate and keep them in here, versus people who come in and you talk to them in the first time and they're like, well, I want to lose 50 pounds and I want to back squat 400. And you're like, okay, now what's your reality? How many times a week are you going to be able to get in here? How long? What's your diet like? You start talking to them about that. And if their goal and their values and priorities aren't aligning, you know that there's going to be some issue. There's going to be concerns.
Yeah, I'm on the precipice of a good thought with some of this stuff because like you see it a lot with, I think the fitness industry has kind of stabilized a little bit. CrossFit came in, it was a disruptor. It was high intensity, it was new, it was all these different things, and really what you had before it didn't check a lot of the same boxes. Like people were doing weightlifting, they were doing high intensity cardio intervals that like, it feels good when you get it to hit right, or you get the right balance of like, I 1 rep my deadlift on Monday and then I did all these intervals, on Wednesday. Like I feel amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shifted into that super high intensity. That's where it got a little gray for people and got very competitive and kind of got away from the basics of fitness. And I don't know, like it didn't work as well for people. And like you said, it's kind of working its way back into the right mix, that blend that works for people.
Yeah, functional and longevity.
That's what I was, functionality and we don't want you doing CrossFit. Great, you say you do CrossFit, but if you're only going to do it for 6 months to a year and then you're going to be burnt out of it, I mean, it's not what any owner wants because you want retention. And, that's not what you want for the general population. You want them to find something that they can do consistently, whether that's they're consistently is 2 to 3 days a week or somebody else consistently is 4 to 5. Everybody's going to be different. And, you add the intensity part of that too. If somebody's doing 7 days a week, their intensity for, 4 of those may not be able to be as high, and they're going to be focused on other things. But, yeah, I think everybody's different. But ultimately, if you can look at it in terms of functionality and longevity, just like you said, I think that's a pretty good recipe for success, for progress.
And people, that I guess where I was going to ultimately wrap that up is that people are experiencing all these different types of fitness or different takes on fitness. And I think you used to have all these loose ends, but everyone's kind of like working towards what works. And it's drawing everybody back towards good conditioning. You hear the same messages and themes coming from any successful gym that gets results. It's like consistency,
Community,
intelligent
support,
programming. Yeah, exactly. So however you want to put those pieces together for people, it's like I think everyone's moving back towards the center of what works, and it's always reaffirming to hear the same things. And there are still people that are kind of struggling. They think this is the secret. And every gym, every trainer is out there marketing their aspect of it too. So you get the glitzy glamour, but it always comes down to the same key elements. And
I completely agree. Like, I think Instagram is notoriously known for that. Everybody on Instagram, like, you see them and they're like, do this really cool move, and there's 8,000 challenging parts to it, and there's no point. Go back to the basics, just like you said. You need to squat a little bit, you need to deadlift a little bit, you need to get full range of motion on movements. But Instagram is telling me to do this really fun, exciting movement, and that's how trainers are marketing themselves now. It's they want, if they show that, then maybe somebody's going to pick up and they're going to start following them, and then they're going to become Instagram famous and then a famous trainer and all that. But you're right. I mean, I hope that people are going to stick with the basics. You want them to, you have to do these basic things. There's no magic pill. There's no magic answer. It's just move your body, take it through a range of motion however you want to. But you just have, consistency, accountability with it, and programming. I mean, you got to find somebody that you trust that knows what they're talking about and that's not trying to do something overly fancy and kill you in the process.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be awful to try to come up with complex exercises
Oh, it's
every
exhausting.
week. Like that's.
But it's
as a
also not
coach, that's-
necessary.
that's
We
not
understand
sustainable.
that it's not
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to even like advertise that, then it's like you just have to keep up with that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of hard.
Yeah, but boring same old stuff isn't
Yeah.
good for advertising.
All right.
If you get people to buy into that, then you
Yeah,
have
oh,
a
yeah.
client for a long time.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I see. I always feel better about our product when our long-term clients are super educated on, and they can message almost as well as we can. You know, like they've been around the block. They've tried several things. They've tried the running. They've tried the Orange Theory. And they see where all the pieces fit, and they know what like a well-rounded exercise plan, and you know how to take care of their own body, and you know.
It is cool, like when someone that moved comes back for like a drop-in, they're like, I wish there's gyms like this other places, because it's like what you guys do, you like match it to me, but over there it's just like one size fits all, and it definitely doesn't fit like everyone's ability level.
And I think there are a lot of people doing it well, and that's what I was always cool. I mean, like we went to the same grad school, Armin too, came out of the same, so there's always an intelligent approach to it. But like even how you guys would organize, like how Armin would give 3 versions of the same workout. You guys are starting to, you have like a no bar option for people. Like your dad is starting at the gym. It's like, that's cool. It's a solution that works for people.
Yeah.
You're selling solutions as opposed to just hard shit that it's a race to who can make shit harder, and like people can either hang in there and, you know, I don't know. It's all just like a marketing blitz. And
And I think that's another, like we were talking about earlier, where it kind of came from. I think, you know, you'd have maybe the RX option and a scaled option. Well, even now you go to CrossFit for the Open and they have like RX, they have intermediate, they have all these adaptive, they have teen, they have masters, they have master scaled. So, I mean, I think they even see that too, that, yeah, like 2 isn't going to cut it. You know, an RX level and a scaled level isn't going to cut it. You have people that are just in way more places than that. And even when we have an RX Gold, a scaled, a no bar, we are constantly individually talking to our people. And now that's probably a little bit too heavy for you on the Gold weight, but silver, doing the barbell's not going to get you as much movement and reps and intensity. So we're going to have you do this. And so, yeah, we have classes of 20, maybe 25 at the most people, but we know these people so well that we can still keep it fairly individualized, even though they're all doing the same workout. Like, hey, you're not ready to be on the pull-up bar if you can't do an active shoulder hang. We're not putting you up there. You're going to do ring rows today. You're going to build strength. If you can do 10 pull-ups in a row, we'll allow you to start working on chest to bar pull-up. But even then, we have our 4 levels, and then we're constantly talking to people. And hey, if weight loss is your goal, maybe we do keep the weight a little bit lighter, and we keep you breathing, within 80 to 85% of your max heart rate for the next 30 minutes. If strength is your goal, all right, we're going to push weight a little bit as long as your technique is good.
Right.
We're not going to have you failing under a barbell in this workout. So yeah, we try and do our best there to know our clients extremely, extremely well. And even though they're kind of all doing the same thing, we're still tailoring it to them. How do we make it as individualized for them, even though we're following the CrossFit principles of the larger group environment?
So are those benchmarks like listed somewhere of until you do this, then you move on to this, or is it more just like
it's
on
very
a
well
conversation?
known. It's a conversation when we do our foundations classes.
Okay.
So we do one-on-one intro classes with all new members. Anybody to get them into CrossFit, they have to go through that. And Zildjian is our girl that does that right now. She's amazing with that. We take them through each movement. And then it's just always a reminder, like it's on us as coaches. All of our coaches are very well educated in that. And we have a coaching document where every week the workouts get put in, all the movements are broken down. Here's, a couple things that we've seen as primary concerns with this movement. Here are common cues. And then it's all listed out in there. We're doing pull-ups today. Okay, they can't do this many. We're going to have them do this. A jumping pull-up, a banded pull-up, a banded strict pull-up, a ring row, a modified ring row with their feet way back behind. So that's all broken down per coach, and then it's on our coaches to communicate and really interact with the members to help them reach their goals.
Nice. So you have all the regressions and
Yeah.
for each movement pretty much.
Yep.
We do all that. back here.
I was going to say, you guys do it where you
Yeah.
literally put it on a sheet of paper. We allow people to make the decisions a little bit more, but we're the, we're the ones with the experience. We're the ones that have been around and guide people. And for the most part, people really listen to us. There's a handful of people that you walk over to in the middle of class and you're like, hey, we need to drop down weight. Like your back is really struggling on those deadlifts, and they just shake you off and tell you to go away. But you're going to stay on them, and you're going to try and train them to the best of your ability every day, no matter what. 95% of our members are amazing, and they listen, and they want our feedback constantly.
Nice. Good environment.
We try. There's always, just like you guys in here, you always try and make it a better environment for your members. We do the same thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I told Kurt we should, like, I've been there dozens of times over the years, and it's a good environment. It'd be worth
You
checking
should
out.
actually
just to
step
get-
into a class sometime when you're there. Like actually
Yeah.
just do a CrossFit class. Yeah. It's always good
Road
to have
trip.
people with experience like that, just overall life coaching, training, programming experience, do stuff like that. And you want to hear feedback and know what's good and what we can do better in.
For sure. Tell us when.
Whenever you're in Cedar Falls next time, Kurt.
No, you were saying that we should go there.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's like the scale of it. Like here, we're a smaller version, and like everyone's individualized, and we're almost going reverse. I think maybe we talked about this on the last podcast. Like we have enough people getting in great shape that like we can start maybe considering pairing people together. Like it's developing into that. We just have so many people that are, I don't know, we try to make it as flexible as possible for people. We have long 90-minute classes, individualized workouts. We make it as flexible as possible so people can get their fitness in.
But I think around here, I think you guys need that. That's what differentiates you guys, right? That's what sets you above maybe some of the other gyms in our area. If people want to CrossFit or they want to lift with a barbell, we're the primary go-to in Cedar Falls. And I love that we've cornered that market. You guys are in a much different position out here where you have to differentiate yourselves. And I think with your ability to program at such a high level, that's what keeps your clients coming in, and that's what keeps them trusting you and really enjoying this place.
Yeah.
We do that. It's just on just a different level. But it's whatever's going to work.
But you guys have a similar, like, I guess philosophy in terms of, like, the gym gets a lot of use. That's how we are. We want people here. We want people getting their fitness in. If there's something that we could be doing a little bit better to make it more feasible for people to get their workouts in, we're all about it.
Yeah.
We try to make it easy for people to get their work done and stay healthy and fit, and
Have fun, yeah.
I think that's important because sometimes places are only open from this time to this time, and you got to do this, and you guys have a good like flexible. It's like get your work in and keep doing it.
Right.
make it easy to do it so you can keep doing it.
Accessibility is just a thing of the world now. Everybody wants convenience and accessibility. And I think both of our gyms offer kind of the 24-hour access option where you get a code or a key and can come in. And there are a lot of people who work third shift or second shift and they want to come in at 11 p.m. I mean, that sounds terrible to me, but we want to give them that opportunity that they may not have elsewhere.
Even when we're there, like Christmas break, when we're spending time with you guys out there, it's like we go super early because the kids are still sleeping, like stuff like that. It helps.
Yeah.
Make it easier, not harder.
For sure. Convenience. What else we got? What's your... So you would train 6 days a week?
Yeah, when we were doing team training stuff with the intensity of it, usually we would train 6 days a week, and I used to take a full day off. I don't anymore because the intensity of my workouts are lower. But it always depends on my schedule. Sometimes if I'm coaching volleyball for 3 days in a weekend, I'll go in and do like a really light hotel workout. But I mean, now it's been about 7 days a week, but I do more bodybuilding stuff. I do a few CrossFit workouts a week. I've actually enjoyed running lately, so I get up and I just do like walk runs on the treadmill in the morning on Sundays. I more just try and move as much as I can throughout a day. Monday through Friday at the gym, that's a little bit more intense, and then Saturday, Sunday is I'm still moving, I'm still doing something, but it's just a lot less.
Okay, so it's less like structured. It's more like get
Yeah.
some lifting in, get some cardio in.
Yep. Yeah, the most recent more body-based program that I did, I really loved, and it was just something different. It was good for my mind, it was good for my body, and kind of the perfect time when I found out I was pregnant to just transition, because I wasn't always feeling 100%, but I knew I could go down and do some bis and tris and bench press a little bit, and I would still move, I would still walk a little bit and get some steps in a day, and that I'm good with that now.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weird transition, it's a hard transition. Like I said, 90% of the time, it's great. It's worked perfect. 10% of the time, I'm watching all like the 21-year-olds do their thing and make it to regionals, and I get a little just competitive and a little FOMO, yeah. But I've been there, done that, and I've enjoyed it. I've had the experience, and I'm happy with where I'm at now.
Yeah.
That's what keeps you maintaining your fitness is
Yeah.
the FOMO and the competitiveness, and it's just like just being able to hang in there starts to get, it's like you feel good that you can
hang in with some of the young kids sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But the bodybuilding stuff is nice because I think it's a big mental break compared to like Olympic lifting or
pump
doing something hard.
Like I came in,
Intense.
Mallory and I came in here this morning, and she was like, I got to snatch today. That's on my I didn't do it yesterday, and I was like, oh, the thought of snatching
Sounds
right now.
terrible.
Yeah.
Like, but I snatched on Thursday, and it went great. But I was like, oh, the thought of doing that. Like, I just wanted to do some hammy curls and narrow squats today, and it was fine. It was great.
Yeah.
I need to do something like explosive, or like I can't. I don't know. If I came in and started doing something to get a pump, I'd end up doing something. But the pump stuff gets you in the mood. Or like I'll come in and start riding the bike, and then all of a sudden I'm doing like bike sprints or like it.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna go sit on the assault bike for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, I can get 12 calories in that. Well, I got now I'll get 13 calories in this minute.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the
Just
competitive
start,
side never really.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Just start moving, and you never know where it's gonna lead. And some days you just listen to your body, and you're like, all right, bis and tris it is.
Yeah.
And other days you're like, all right, that ended up being a pretty good workout. But I always want to leave the gym feeling proud of myself for doing something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some days, and I know this is the same for a lot of people, like you come in and move and you sweat a little bit, and that's what you could handle that day. And then other days you're like, all right, I feel good. I'm going to push it a little bit. I know my limits. I'm not going to go crazy and hurt myself because I'm going to try and max my back squat, and I haven't done that in 5 months, but that also goes back to the training thing too. You take it at whatever intensity level that you can
I'll
handle
still
that
get
day.
caught up.
Yeah.
I'll still get caught up in the moment. You get a good group, some good music.
Yeah.
End up doing something you shouldn't. Yeah, and then you're like, oh shit, like as you're walking out. Or if I don't have time for cool downs, that's one thing I've gotten back to.
Yeah.
Like if I don't, but if you didn't have the time to cool down, then you probably shouldn't do something crazy that day.
But that's as we're getting older, we're not getting any younger, unfortunately. As we get older, those become more of a priority.
Mm-hmm.
I watch Mallory and how good she is with warm-ups all the time. She goes through and she does cat-cows. I agree. I come in, I'm like, I want to do some tin men and some knee hugs and ankle pulls, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But I also know that my body hasn't responded well to that in the past. I need to warm up a little bit better. But it took a long time to get on board with that. But that was part of the intensity thing too. Like I just want to work. I want to do something that I'm going to feel proud of, and I'm going to sweat.
Anything,
I'm going to But I also understand the priority and the importance of doing those things.
Yeah. That's what I like about personal training. It's like if you notice something like that, like man, this girl will do the intricate warm up every time. It's like then you can give them that, and you can watch to see how that the little pieces add up over time. Or you see somebody that like wants to, they're always skipping their warm up. Like I'll give people like ball slams and like something where they can just start like just moving their body and kind of get themselves in the flow of it. And like I pay a lot of attention to little details like that.
Yeah, I mean, but as a personal trainer, I think you should. That's what that's what you're getting paid for. That's your job.
Yeah, but
that's probably
so
not
that
gonna have them long.
That too with like how people have experienced different things. The clients that have some self-awareness about their own fitness, and then coming up with a good plan, or just, and it's never going to last forever, but like, hey, for this next 3 months, work is terrible. Why don't we just like 2 days a week of like, let's just come in here and sweat. And then maybe on your Saturday session where you had a good night's sleep, like we'll fucking push it on Saturdays, you know, and then getting people to align for themselves versus, you know, like, no, I need to be, it's like, no, dude, that doesn't work. I've been doing this long enough that you see people just get frustrated, fall off, inconsistent. It's like, it doesn't add up over time to just set up a good plan that aligns with your priorities and your goals. And then it's always changing. And that, you know, we try to maintain an open conversation for people.
That's the thing, is I think communication is really important when it comes to that. Like, you have to be willing to ask the questions, and then they have to be willing to share the other aspects of their lives with you. Like, we're not always just trainers. Sometimes we're therapists. Like, I get talked to all the time about, I haven't been sleeping and my daughter's sick, or I got a new dog and they're not sleeping and they need to be up all the time. And you're like, all right, how do we fix that? How do we still make it so you can get in here and get something out of it? But all of those other aspects of their lives, 100% still are going to dictate success when they're in here. And you need to know it.
Do you do a lot of personal training?
Yeah.
Do they end up in groups, or just kinda stick with
sometimes. I mean, I've had personal training clients. Man, I've had a mom and a daughter now for like 7 years. So
She's pregnant. She doesn't.
Well, no, it's just not feeling coffee right now.
I don't know how to drink that.
No, so I've had people that have stayed with me. I've had people who have come in and then they're like, yeah, I kind of want to try CrossFit, or like, yeah, I might come into that like 1 or 2 days, or I'll do cardio and then I'll train with you 2 days. Some of that's financial. Obviously, personal training isn't cheap. And some of it is, you know, when they are in with you for a certain amount of time, they get more comfortable in the gym, they get more comfortable with movements, and then, you can send them off into class. But a majority of the people that I've had continue to be my clients. Some of them are Excel and volleyball kids, so they're not going to go into, and they could go into regular Excel classes, but they wouldn't go into CrossFit classes.
Gotcha.
I think perfect world, people should do personal training to an extent, go to group, and be able to move back and forth as needed.
Yeah, I think there's definitely benefits of both. Like we talked about earlier, the accountability of, you know, being individual with a trainer, that's great, but then you get the motivation of being in a group setting and meeting new people and just pushing yourself maybe a little more than what you would individual.
My personal training sessions, I feel, because it's like, it's so busy, you know, like it's one thing to the next. I'm setting up their next thing. There's no like their rest periods are I'll give them rest, but I just feel like their session is like at a pace that maybe they wouldn't normally give themselves. You know, and it's like,
I agree. There's benefits of both for sure. Some people just prefer one over the other, and again, it's whatever they're going to keep doing.
Right.
If you have the financial ability to personal train and you really love to be one-on-one, then stick with it. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I've found myself having some sort of bias when the personal training people go into the group and just like wanting them to succeed, like, do it. Now that you've kind of like graduated into it.
Yeah, they feel a sense of they're self-sufficient, which is awesome. That's, again, long-term in a gym setting. You know, if they're on the road or they eventually get a park district membership, they're self-sufficient. You feel everyone can feel good about that. They paid the trainer adequately for the time and attention for the service, and then it's like sending your kid off to school, and they're so proud of it, and they should be. It's like they conquered a fear. We get that a lot. Like people are a little intimidated. You talked about it. A little intimidated to go into this environment, all this equipment, and people, you know, big muscular people doing crazy shit, and it's like, then you see them mix it up in the group, and they're not self-conscious, and not everybody grew up like an athlete, getting involved in situations where they were very uncomfortable, and to see them come in and like conquer that, it's super rewarding for the trainer too, and you know, like
seen them do more than they thought they could, like the first session, and just keep progressing is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then like choosing to increase weight versus kind of just staying, keeping it like light, even though they know they could go heavier, and then they actually do. So it's nice.
You know, with the different options that we offer in the gym, we have the ability when somebody comes in for an intro session, and they sit down and talk to Zildjian. Usually, we have the ability to. They can do personal training, they can do CrossFit, they can do cardio, they can do nutrition. We have the opportunity to push them into different avenues of what we think is going to benefit them most. I think for a long time, it was always people come into our gym, they just wanted to do CrossFit. But now you sit down and you talk to people, and like I said, they may want to go to the games as a CrossFit athlete, but they haven't worked out in 5 years, and they need to lose about 50 pounds, and they can't hold themselves in a dead hang position on a pull-up bar. So we need to steer them. Maybe personal training for 2 months is going to be better for them. They're going to gain the confidence. We're going to be able to keep them as members because they feel more comfortable in the environment. Or we steer them toward nutrition. Like, hey, we think nutrition is going to be a better focus for you right now.
Gives you the opportunity to give them the time and attention.
Yes.
Send them in the right direction.
Yeah.
Answer the questions. Yep. Walk them through a training session. And you also get to see how they recover too. Like, this is what we did last time. You're here now. You're presenting worse than last time. Like, what? Let's have a conversation about that.
Yep.
And when you do, like you said, like you spend that 2 months with them, all of a sudden that person a little bit better. Be like, okay, now I think you're ready. Or maybe CrossFit's not the best fit for you. You give them the solution that ultimately is right for them.
So they're not necessarily coming to sign up for a gym, but they have some issue that they need help with. So if it's nutrition's going to fix it, or personal training, or group class, or cardio. So it's like,
that's part of the podcast
expertise. I
listened to the other day. That's 100%, kind of what we're trying to do, what we're having Zildjian do and push a little bit is listening to this podcast. Like, you go to a doctor and you don't just think you want them to prescribe you something, right? I mean, people come to us and they want our expertise. They want our opinion on it. Now, we're still going to get those people that come into a CrossFit gym and they're like, I want to do CrossFit. Yeah. They may not be ready. They may have terrible mobility. Their nutrition may be god-awful and their schedule is terrible and whatever, but that's their decision. So we try and push them, and then they may still choose the CrossFit side. I mean, people are adults and they're going to make their own decisions. But as much as we can give them help and guide them in the right direction, that's our job. And we didn't do that for a long time, and I think that's something that's really going to start to benefit us, especially retention-wise, and getting more longevity in the gym. If we're going to put them in the right place to start and get them to be successful, but we have to tell them what that is. You don't go to a doctor going, well, I just need this medication. Well, some people do. But
this is what I want you to do. But that's what I was saying about the information kind of converging, is people are hearing the same messages from these successful resources, and then they come in slightly more educated. It's not, and then as gym owners and trainers, you feel a little bit more secure delivering the right message, as opposed to you want to do CrossFit? Yeah, hop in. You don't have to cater as much to what you can kind of like do the right thing, which unfortunately, like when you're trying to build a gym and someone comes in, they go, I want to do CrossFit. Here's my check. You're like, like, okay, if you're not established, you're like, you take the check and they try to do the right things in the class, but ultimately that probably doesn't work out for that person because, they wanted to do it their way, and you kind of allowed it, so to speak. And, trust me, I'm guilty of it. You look back at clients and you're like, fuck, like you let them skate on the assessment, and then, 8 months later, they're fucking hurt from the 6 boot camp classes they've been doing. And, it's like,
finding the moral value line of
it aligns for everybody, the trainer, the gym owner, yeah,
exactly.
So you went from, you originally were not going to have a career in fitness. I somehow talked you into it.
You did. Yep.
Shoved you in that general direction.
Yep.
And then now you're gym owner.
Yeah.
Take me through that transformation. Like, did you believe in what you were doing at the beginning? Like, you just kind of start it? You like what, you know what I mean? Like how did you start? And then tell me about like the evolution. Like how did you get to the point where like, yeah, I want to do this for a long time and I want to invest more into it from even money, time, energy?
I think opportunities are hard to turn down. We talked about that earlier. Like, you think you find the right opportunity, and I never wanted to turn an opportunity down. So when I was coming out of grad school and I was applying for coaching jobs, that at the collegiate level, the Division I level, a couple opportunities came up, and I didn't feel right about them. You presented the opportunity to come here. You're like, hey, come intern for a month. We'll kind of see how this works out. We'll do a year. We ended up doing that. Was kind of like the deal. Come out for a year. We'll see how this works. And turns out I kind of fell in love with it. I loved being in the environment, seeing people do things that they didn't think they could do. All the typical things that hopefully trainers get into the field, and that's what they love about it. And then, unfortunately, I didn't end up staying here, mainly because of Adam. You can blame him for that. Turns out,
I still do.
Turns out, we got married.
If you ever want to come back.
We got married, and now there's going to be a third little Timmins.
Doors open.
That when I went back there, that was my thing. I told Adam I wanted to find something I loved doing as much as I loved when I was here, but I also loved him, and I wanted to go back home. And then it was just little by little, like keep the door open for opportunities, and if you're excited about them, jump on them. And Armand was great, just like you were, about always providing an opportunity that we could take. We were either going to be successful or we were going to fall on our face. And I fell on my face multiple times, but it's just, you just kind of keep climbing. And then, you get more excited about it. You take on more responsibility, and you get more excited to go to work and to be able to help these people. And now all of a sudden I'm building a Kilo Quickies program, an at-home program. And then all of a sudden you're doing this and more, and then the opportunity presented itself for myself and Kate and Trav to become owners. Armin and Sarah were, have other things that they wanted to pursue. And so we were going to be the day-to-day people, and I'm just excited about it. And I love what I do. I love working with people. I want to be in a gym. And it was just kind of the natural next step because it was my family. But we've talked about this multiple times. You want people who see the gym as your family. It's not just a working environment. I never wanted to go to a place where I sat at a desk and then I was so excited to leave by 5 p.m. It's my family. It's my life. Like, I live at the gym sometimes more than I do home. Sorry, Adam. I think it's just, I didn't want to say no to an opportunity, and this is the one that led me in the most successful and the most exciting future. So, all thanks to you. Tip your hat.
No, Kurt, you ever heard of Jordan Peterson? Do you know the name? Mm-mm. Kurt and I like talk about it. He's a clinical psychologist, and he talks about embracing responsibility, and through responsibility comes purpose. And as a gym owner, you've embraced so many responsibilities, and now you've taken on I don't know how many clients you have, but now you've taken on so many more responsibilities, and there's so much purpose in that.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to be scared about it or shy away from it, or it's not my fucking problem. No, it's when you put yourself into that situation. So it's been cool for me to watch from a third party perspective, to like, you take on responsibility, you have more purpose. Mm-hmm. And it's asked backwards, because I feel like younger, people that are graduating now, they're like, they want to take, or they think that leisure is the way to happiness, not right. Working. I don't want to work. Work's bad.
I don't want to be stressed.
Yeah. No, stress makes you feel alive, and the more responsibility you take on, and that's the rewarding aspect of having kids. Like, now you're going to have a kid, like, there's a lot.
Very terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's just buying a gym.
But the responsibility of it is the purposeful, like, you'll go to bed at night feeling good. You have purpose, and like the gratitude of having purpose feels good.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, that's
even as stressful as it can be, and it is, and like,
Right.
you
But
wonder
it's
why
worth
the
it.
fuck you're doing it sometimes, and
Right.
you'll have purpose, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are living their lives looking for some semblance of purpose, and that's my soliloquy.
But you're right. It's uncomfortable to want to take on more responsibility because you just get nervous about it. You're like, am I going to fail? Well, maybe, but you're not going to really grow anywhere if you don't. Yeah, but I think that's a great way to put it. Is just you take on more responsibility, and you're successful with it, and then that continues to drive. Okay, I did that. I want to do this, and there's a lot of purpose and there's excitement about what you're doing because you know that you've made an impact somewhere else.
Yeah. And then you have employees, and now you're helping them pay, create
that's
a life.
That's a whole different animal.
For
yeah,
themselves.
that's cool. I find that super rewarding.
Yeah.
Seeing Kurt's success is again, purpose. It's rewarding for me, and now I instead
But it's
of
frustrating, right? Because you feel there's some days where you still fail, and you feel like, well, how do I help them? All right, they got to help themselves too, but how do I help them? How do I make them become a better trainer or understand this is all a process of being able to make your 50 grand a year if that's your goal?
Right.
You got to start somewhere. But leadership is hard, and it's not a position that everybody wants to be in. It's hard, but it's worth it. Yeah.
what's the book? Extreme Accountability.
Mm-hmm. It's all your fault, pretty much.
Take responsibility, even for things that aren't your fault.
But God, isn't that our world? Everybody does participation trophies, and it's not your fault. It's something else's, or you had no control over that. Well, I mean, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
Realistically, you're the one that's in control of your life, and there are a lot of things that you don't want to admit that you can control, and that you have to take responsibility over. But if you do, you're a lot more successful. You're a lot happier.
Interesting question. So we were talking earlier today. What is your internal dialogue mostly positive, or can you be hard on yourself? And I want to hear your take on that too.
I think if I look back to my conversations that I would have with myself in college, playing volleyball, I think it was a lot more negative. I think putting myself in the positions of training and failing and training and failing and training and then, all right, success, and then training and failing. I think you have to switch your mindset if you're going to be any sort of successful in that. I think having people around you that teach you that, though, and how to get through it, that's such a big thing that I focus with my 16-year-old volleyball girls on that I coach, is what went through your head when you made that mistake? How do you fix it? How do you make it better? If you haven't been exposed to people that are talking to you about that, then I don't think you maybe, or putting yourselves in the situation that forces you to have to adapt to that, or you fail, then I don't think you're going to necessarily always have positive self-talk. I think negative self-talk is way easier and more common.
Yeah. I would say my instinct would be negative.
Yeah.
So even if it's positive, during lifting, it's if I'm trying to psych myself up, it'd be aggressive in a more of a negative way than a positive way, I think. It's let's go, you fucking idiot. You can do this. It's not
I'm going to say you don't sprint up to the
Pig.
barbell and you're like, come on, I can do it.
So it's always I would say more negative.
I think that's kind of instinctual,
Yeah.
though. I don't think until we learn how to fail, you're not going to learn how to do positive self-talk. So I think, I don't know, it seems like the negative is more instinctual, and you have to learn how to do positive self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Many years and many times of experience.
That's my new fascination with people. Is
I like
what,
that question.
what is driving you?
Yeah.
And so I think for me, this is what I'm introspective about, is I'm 97% of 100 is negative. And that's what drives me. And then the 3% at the end of the day is well, I'll do better tomorrow. And then it's that's my cycle. It's the negative is what motivates me and pushes me.
Well,
and
negative, it's more of just you don't want to be a loser type of thing. I think that's what motivates me, is just be better than this type of thing.
Don't be a piece.
Yeah.
I think
do better.
I don't know. I'm trying to think about, like, as I approach a barbell, like what I'm thinking about. I try and put a singular focus on, like, a specific movement. So that's why I tell my volleyball kids all the time. When you go back to serve, it's not, oh my God, I missed my last one. Or I'm going to put this ball in the court. It's, I'm going to contact the perfect part of my hand. Or I'm going to make a really short contact. I think that's what I think about when I approach a bar. Keep it close. Or elbows high. Or, like, if I can find one singular focus, but it can't be negative, right? You can't walk up and be like, oh, don't miss it. Or like, don't let the bar get away from my shins. Like, it has to be, my dad taught me that from, that's a Kevin thing, to teaching me that when I was way young, is you can't put it in the positive or the negative sense. Like, you can't tell a kid, don't miss your serve, because what's the last thing?
Don't be negative.
Don't be negative. Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to tell them it in the positive sense, because all they hear after that was, oh, he said miss my serve. Like, that's the last thing.
So this is what I'm paying attention to, is because you have all these negative thoughts whizzing past you.
Yeah.
And for you, it's like, okay, what's the one positive? Yep. But the negative still exists, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the negative can be very motivating.
Yeah.
Because, like, to your point, like...
I usually think of, like, one cue to tell myself to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about life in general, too. Like, your alarm's going off. You could snooze it, or...
That's a great
get
example.
Up, you fucking loser. Like,
Like, you know you're going to feel like shit if you don't get up. Just get out of bed.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, something about lying to myself with positivity. Is
Sometimes
like,
you have to.
It feels worse. It's like, I'll reward myself with positivity once the work is done. Like, or the moment has passed. It's, you know, like, I don't know. I'm interested in it.
Maybe it's a competitive
I think
thing.
that's a great question.
Being competitive. Even, like, with yourself, of just not wanting to do poorly in something.
Yeah. I don't want to be the old woman in the gym that can't do muscle-ups anymore, so I'm going to continue to...
But that's what I mean. The negative has... We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
The negative has very powerful...
Yeah.
But then you do have to give yourself some slack at some point and, like, have a positive...
I mean, if you... Like, if it's successful, then you're, like, feel good afterwards. It's never like, okay, you asshole, you did it. It's like, dang, you did it. Nice.
Asshole, you did it. Yeah, but if you fail, because there's going to be lots of times when you do, you have to be able to sit and reassess. So I think that's what I see, at least a lot from my young volleyball players, is they want to just move on from that failure. Like, they don't want to have to deal with it. They don't want to have to move on with it and cope with it. But if you don't assess that, then what are you doing to set yourself up to be maybe more positive down the road?
Yeah.
I have a tough time starting things because of the negative. Like, I have to wrap my head around something before I'll start it. Otherwise, because that's where the negative self-talk is limiting. Like,
well, then your mood changes, and
you're gonna fuck that up. Like, you're gonna, you know, like, then you're like, oh god, you know. And sometimes you just have to do it. But I find myself, like, avoiding something, or, you know, like...
See, I will do that immediately. If there's something that I do not want to do that day, that I'm not looking forward to, I get that done and off my plate, because what I don't want to happen is that I have to worry about it the rest of the day. I don't want to, like, that's why I'd rather work out in the morning. Like, I coach in the morning sometimes, and then you get it done at 7, 8 a.m. because I don't want to worry about it until 10 or 11. Now I don't worry about my workouts anymore. It just is what it is. But I want to get that done immediately, so it's not a concern of mine.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah. Set yourself up for success. Make your life easier. That's a Jordan Peterson thing. It's like, how can you make tomorrow easier for yourself? Take less off your plate for tomorrow. So if it's like doing the dishes, doing chores or whatever, to make tomorrow easier, and then you have more time for other stuff.
Maybe it is him, because that's like... I've told Adam about this before. I do a lot of things to make my life easier, so when I get home at 7:30 at night, I don't have to do the dishes. I don't have to do my laundry. I'll jam-pack the beginning of the day. I know Mallory does this too. Jam-pack the early morning part of the day, so it makes something easier later. It's the same thing with, there's like 2 types of tasks that you do in a day that I had read somewhere, and I don't remember the names of them, but one of them is a task that you get done and you can check off, and one of them is going to create more work for yourself. And if you can limit those tasks that are constantly making more work for yourself later down the road, your life becomes a lot more efficient. Like, you send out an email with a bunch of questions, it's going to give you more work down the road.
I live in that world.
Yeah.
I'm like always
I mean, it's inevitable, right? Everybody's going to be there, but if I can do things that simplify my lifestyle throughout the day, I'll do them all day.
Sounds like you.
For the most part. Just like eliminate decisions type of thing.
Yeah.
Meal prep.
Yeah.
I like to grind it
Some
out.
sort of organization.
But some
Grind-
people
grind
kind of
all
like
day.
that challenge later. Like, you're like, all right, now I want to see how much I can get done. Like, this is a little challenge to it.
I don't like
Last
that.
minute.
It's like, how much can I relax today? That's
Yeah.
ideal.
Yeah.
I create emergency situations in
Yeah.
my life.
Can I get all this done and get a 20-minute nap in later? Saving grace.
Interesting. But when you fail, are you negative? Because there's sometimes people will like fail a lift and they're like angry.
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, you yell when you fail a lift.
Yeah. I kicked a hole in the wall one time.
I mean, I have before, but not often. I usually have to just take like a big deep breath and relax.
Usually what frustrates you though, like that time that I kicked the hole in the wall, I was mad at myself for
Yeah.
other reasons other than missing the lift. It was the things that I didn't do leading up to it
Huh.
that I knew I should have done. And I was telling myself I should have done it. And I didn't. And I still, for some reason, thought that I should
Yeah,
be able to do what I wanted to do. And
that's probably true.
I was upset with myself.
Just told myself to high pull and fucking high pull.
Yeah. It was, we had a lot of people here, like, lifting. And I spent so much time, like, in my gym owner responsibility, like making sure everybody was okay. And I was like overkilling it. I should have just gotten involved and started lifting. And then I waited way too long. Everybody started leaving. I was like exhausted. Then I'm like, I should have fucking started earlier.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got heavy, like everyone was gone. There's one dude left. And I was just like, I thought in my head, I had it built up that it was going to be a great lifting day. I was going to fucking try a PR.
Yeah.
And I missed it. And I just kicked a hole in the wall
As terrible as this sounds.
that I had to fix.
You had to fix that, yeah. As terrible as this sounds, I think, especially nowadays, my expectations are lower. Like, so the other day I was snatching and I was like, I haven't done this in a long time. We'll see. Maybe I'll hit this. And then I was a little bit heavier and I'm like, all right, that's a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's probably a coping mechanism, like set my expectations low and then be pleasantly surprised, as opposed to like really high expectations and then you're just mad when you get done.
Yeah. Living
That's how I
mad.
am.
Right. Yeah.
What?
I'll surprise myself. Like, expect I can't do
You're
so much.
good
Yeah.
about that. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
pretty good.
I don't usually freak out.
I was good today.
Oh, with your thruster?
Yeah.
Cluster?
Cluster.
Ooh.
It's like a high percentage of my. I had a good plan. I was gonna go heavy at something, and then started doing clusters, and got to like high percentage of what I've ever done.
See, I don't know how you do that. I have to have a plan. Like we
No,
were on our way over.
I was
here
gonna
this
work
morning.
clean. I was gonna
Okay.
warm up the clusters,
Something, yeah.
and then transition into heavy cleans. And the clusters were going well, so I just went with it, and
Yeah.
then did a heavy one. I didn't go stupid heavy, but it was like a high percentage of my best ever, and I felt good about it.
That's usually
Yeah, there you go.
like a good session is you don't have any expectations going into it. So then when you don't do something, then it's not
Yeah.
like a failure.
Yeah.
I gotta have a plan. I don't like not having a plan. I'm gonna
Of
do
what
this,
to do or
this,
what to
do.
numbers.
Yeah. Numbers I get in my head, but again, usually I
Yeah.
set those a little lower, and then I'm like pleasantly surprised.
Mhm.
But no, like every workout is like planned out. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna
Yeah,
do
yeah.
this. I'm gonna do this. And like, I try to stay efficient with it. Not that you can always be, but
There's a guy that's been like Tim is very into auto regulation for himself,
okay.
and then there's a guy that's been coming in who's he's a doctor. He's a very busy dude, and he comes in. I think I was telling you about
Yeah.
him. And he comes in and he kind of looks at me and he has a general idea of like the movement he wants to do.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like, as I'm watching
Guide
him,
it.
I give him a little bit of push him in a direction. It's total auto regulation. It's kind
Yeah.
of fun. And so I've kind of been training like that. Like I have a couple days and then my Saturday's usually heavy because like Kurt's in here, good environment.
Yeah.
And that's the day where I'll like clean. I don't snatch as much anymore.
Yeah.
Just mobility wise, it's it's a lot to work towards. So then I come in with the idea of like I'm gonna clean and then see where it takes me.
Yeah.
So it's like start with the cluster, felt
You have
good.
a rough plan.
Some heavy clean
Yeah.
pulls,
You have an outline.
bike intervals,
Yeah.
felt good.
I think
was
I'd
happy.
from the competing days, I always wanted to know what we were doing, and that's it's the part of CrossFit, right? It's constantly varied. It's like you never really knew what you were doing at regionals all the time. And so when I could, as much as I could, I wanted to control what I could control with it. So a lot of times you don't know the workouts or the movements or the order or all this. And then you get really excited when you'd find out like a week before regionals. Like you'd be able to break everything down and practice it. So I would always look at the workouts like the night before and kind of have it in my head like a plan. Because you're always trying to fight for the best score that you could because you're trying to make a team, right? So I always wanted to have a plan as much as I could and get that control because I didn't have it all the time. So now I think I just want the control of it, of knowing what my plan's going to be. I don't wing things very well, I don't think, in life.
You got a plan.
Yeah. I like to be planned and structured.
That's why you're good with nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the planning part of that. Like, this is what I'm going to eat every day. I'm completely fine eating the same thing every day because I know that I'm going to feel consistent. And that's my control over it.
And that's where the all or nothing gets you
Yeah.
in trouble. Like, that's me. Like, I'll go all or nothing. I'll nutrition, diet hard, plan.
Yeah.
And then I just, like, get bored of it. And then I go back to my random ideas.
I think it's easy. The lack of decision when eating makes life easier for me, at least.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I
Just
completely
knowing where
agree.
stuff is coming from.
Yeah.
When you'll eat, where, what it's going to be.
Yeah. I talk to people about that a lot. Like, in the world, it's you shouldn't think about food all the time, or you don't want to think about food all the time because then you're going to eat and then you're going to consume your calories. But like even today, we went to the soccer game. I'm like, I don't know if we're going home in between. I need my snacks, so I have a bag in the car. It's got apple and a protein bar just in case. And then I asked Mallory what we were doing for dinner tonight. Like I always want to know where my next meal is coming from and what it is. Yeah. And obviously that's not always
That's smart from an evolutionary perspective.
I
start planning your next meal.
always have snacks with me.
What type of protein bar?
It's like a Special K one in there right now,
Okay.
but I actually started eating 1 bars that are really good.
Oh, okay.
We have level 1 bars at the gym that are my all-time favorite.
Level 1.
Level 1 is what they're called, yeah. It's finding a good protein bar is hard because it's either going to be really high in fat or really high in sugar, and like I can't. Sugar alcohols upset my stomach. High fat upsets my stomach. So I eat maybe 2 protein bars a week, maybe 3. But it's my snack if we're on the go and I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
And it's a good option.
What's the lowest you got your body fat on the in-body? I remember you told me
Actually,
it was like over
weirdly
Christmas.
enough, I did it in February, just kind of out of nowhere. Found out I was pregnant in January, so I was a couple months along. I did it in February, and I was 8.6 on our new in-body scale.
All the fucking trolls out there will say that that's not. He put up a post of like 7% or something. And
No, it was
Yeah.
8,
all
6.
these fucking dudes coming out of the woodwork like, hey, he's not 8. Those in-body results are
I
blah, blah,
don't
blah,
care.
blah.
You took more offense to it, I think.
They're just fucking idiots. Like,
Yeah.
no. And then, too, Mallory will back it up with the calipers, too. And, like,
I feel like calipers might be better.
like the dude's got spiderweb veins in his fucking chest. Like, I think he's pretty
He
lean.
posted a picture today. Go check it out.
Yeah, I think he's pretty
veiny.
fucking lean. And then, too, you, too, like, you're
Yeah.
pretty fucking lean. Like, so
Yeah.
any idiot that wants to.
Yeah. I mean, there's in body. What is it? It's a 2 to 3% error.
I think so.
But unless you do underwater weighing, like calipers have 3% error. Like unless you're doing underwater weighing or maybe the bod pod.
Underwater weighing gets messed up, too, because
Well, because if you can't
you have
exhale
a
all
digital
your air,
scale or you can't exhale.
Yeah.
DEXA, but then it's like
Dex
it
is
has to
good,
be
but-
consistent, like all the same circumstances before.
So if any of those trolls want to find something that's better than a 2 to 3% error, you can feel free. You go right ahead.
Yeah.
But I mean, the most important thing is consistency, right?
Yeah.
You weigh yourself the same time of day. You can't eat on those. You can't eat or exercise before.
Right.
And you get a general I think you showed on Instagram. It was like a general trend of what had been happening. And that makes a big difference. There's going to be times where it's off maybe a little bit, but
There's a lot of haters. That's TikTok. So Kurt posted some videos from your last podcast on TikTok, up to the one has over 1 million views.
Yeah.
And just people with fucking comments and some are productive and asking legitimate questions, But then other people, I
Some are,
swear,
well,
it's
duh,
like,
that's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Like, well, I wasn't trying to present rocket science. Like, we're just having a conversation.
yeah, it's a clip.
Like,
but
if you're gonna hate, fine, do it, but just do it behind. Like, why do you have to put it on social media?
Yeah.
trolls.
It's interesting.
Trolls. Yeah, that's.
I
all
mean,
right.
I think it
Bots.
helps either way. If someone comments,
Yeah.
it drives more views.
Bring it on. Hate all you want.
Yeah, but to my point, like, you guys are both very fucking lean, and you both say the same things.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. People want to get caught up in like the nuance of what
It's
kind
same.
of protein bar does she eat? Like, what kind of, and
Oh, I've had people like, I just want to eat exactly like you. Like, what are you eating? People ask me that all the time. What are you eating now? Like, this is what works for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you are 115 pounds and you work out twice a week. Like, this is me. That's not going to be you.
do you get all crazy with like how some people with like food additives and like all that kind of shit? And like,
No, I mean, I try and just keep things as whole and fresh as possible.
Right.
Like,
but you eat some like fucking chips, and
oh,
you're not
God,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what everybody says. They walk up, they're like, you don't eat cookies. You kidding me? I had a box of
What a
donuts
terrible
last
lifestyle.
weekend.
That's not healthy.
Yeah.
Obviously,
How-
you
do
got
eat
pregnant.
that?
It's like,
Yeah, it's yeah, there's always people that ask that, like, well, you don't eat cookies or you don't eat that. I'm like, yeah, actually, I really love those. I just choose not to eat them all the time.
Mhm.
Like, it's not an everyday food
Yeah.
for me. It's all right,
this
I'm
guy
gonna have
fucking
that.
loves candy.
I do love candy.
Bribe him with candy.
Yeah,
Sugar.
but
I
if
eat
we
cereal
didn't
every
have
day.
that, like, if you didn't have candy every once in a while, if I didn't have little mini donut holes every once in a while, like,
Go crazy.
yeah, and it's not sustainable though. Now, if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to lose 50 pounds, you got to be a little bit more structured and rigid for a while, because you can't go off the deep end on a Saturday and consume 4,000 calories and then expect to be in a deficit from the week.
Yeah.
But when you're in maintenance, I mean, you can eat some chips every once in a while and it's okay. But it's every once in a while. Mallory
Yeah.
calls them sometimes food. I love that. That's a sometimes food. It's not an everyday food.
Definitely. As long as like the percentage of like what you're doing is right most of the time, then
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Well, and
Bag of
protein
chips or
for you
whatever.
too is protein is a primary focus. Every
Yeah.
meal, every snack, it's protein first, and then I'll eat other stuff. But there's still a lot of whole foods,
Mhm.
veggies, fruit. But then there's plenty of other stuff too. I don't want to drink calories very often. I
Yeah.
avoid, but I also don't really like beer and liquor and that kind of stuff. So that's not a big deal. Some people that's their
Yeah.
vice. Mine is popcorn at the end of the night.
I've been eating more popcorn.
It's good low cal.
Yeah, you
Crunch,
can eat a
little
lot
salt.
of it.
I can eat a lot of it, yeah.
And it's technically pretty low calorie,
Yeah.
like for the volume.
And you get some fiber.
Yeah.
Fills you up.
I think protein or popcorn. That's a good like just strategy wise, like volume eating versus. Then you kind of don't have to focus too much on like counting calories
Mm.
or like weighing everything.
Do you weigh all your food? Yeah, I don't either.
Sometimes, like, I have, but it's just to like get an idea of like what a certain amount looks like.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah, I agree. Just to know like
Like-
what exactly 5 ounces
Yeah.
of chicken breast looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've done it before, but yeah, I don't do it.
or if like
Often.
if I have this bowl that I always use, like what level is like a serving
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
But not all the time.
Have you ever weighed food? Counting
Mm,
calories?
physically
like that?
weighed?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to. Like, there are some people that'll swear like you gotta
Yeah.
weigh it. You gotta
Right.
go off the weight of it. I don't know.
I agree. It depends how accurate you think you can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I always, like, I've worked with a couple people where I've recommended getting a food scale just because I know that they think that they're eating a cup of grapes and they're eating, it may not be grape, they're not eating
Yeah.
that probably if I'm working with them with nutrition, but they think they're eating that and it's actually much more. So
Yeah.
it's just
Right.
more of a realistic thing. Do this for a couple weeks, get an idea of where you're actually at, because I don't think they're realistic with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that it's necessary for weight loss by any means.
I find people are way more sedentary than they give themselves credit for. They come into the gym,
Yeah.
yes, maybe twice a week, so 60 to 90
Right.
minutes. But like,
But then they sit.
they're so sedentary.
Yeah.
And they don't
You-
take that into account. And then even,
Uh-huh.
I think, like some of the caloric estimates for some people, years of dieting, I think people have
Yeah.
damaged their metabolism. There's some guys
100%.
doing some newer research. I think we talked about it on one of the last podcasts. doing some newer research about metabolic adaptation, that like poor eating habits, under eating for long extended periods of time, over exercising, your metabolism can really get kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the caloric intake estimates are based on healthy metabolisms, like,
You're right.
you know, like, so this guy was trying to do like calorimeter, like actual measurements, like for 24 hours of people that have like adjusted their metabolism negatively. Right. So like if you're sedentary and you really damage your metabolism, it's something that I'm paying a little closer attention to, because you hear that. I don't know if you guys get that too, but I'm eating 1,200 calories. I can't lose weight.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're
There's something wrong with the metabolism.
Yeah, something's going on. That
if it really is 1,200 calories.
That's
that
very
like
true. That's very true. Yeah.
Right.
The sedentary thing, I think, is incredible. Like, I give Adam crap for this all the time. He comes home and there'd be days where he had like 2,000 steps at work. And then I told him that he could get a new TV for our basement if he took 10,000 steps every day in February of like 2021. And he lost like 12 pounds. I mean, it was ridiculous just because all he was doing was moving more. He went and walked on his lunch break. And it's not warm outside, so we went and did it inside. But it's incredible when he just started moving a little bit more. Right. And he did it again this year because he understands he feels a lot better. His back doesn't hurt as much. His knees don't hurt. And he loses weight. I mean, and then little things like, hey, I'm taking care of myself this way. I'm going to not eat a whole loaf of bread this week. Like, you just little things like that. But, yeah, I think when we started kind of pushing people like, great, you're coming in here and you're working out for an hour. What are you doing the rest of the day?
Right.
And what are you doing for how many hours a week? Like, just get up and move.
That's back to the high intensity. That was me too. Yeah. Like, I had gotten strong. I was very athletic, and I liked doing explosive stuff. I'd be sedentary all day. I'd do something crazy explosive and not make time for additional, and then, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. I think there's a big aspect to that. And if it's people who are at 4,000 steps a day right now, like, shoot for 6, shoot for 7. Yeah. I think 10 is good. I think it can be average, but I think that's really hard for some people coming off of 2,000 a day. But there's no reason why it can't be done.
There's time. There's always time.
I've condensed my conditioning to 2 days a week of like 60 minutes of as much as I can get done. Mm-hmm. And then I'm at very high, like, work to rest. So that's kind of how I equate or like control the intensity. I don't do anything like overly hard.
But then you're just aware of general movement the rest of the day. Like, you're not sitting around a lot. And we have jobs that we don't sit around a lot. I mean, in our gym, we have 11,000 square feet, so I'm constantly walking here to here to here, and I can average 15,000 steps a day. As long as you're just aware of, I need to be sitting, standing, or standing and moving as much as possible, then it's going to help. It's not going to hurt. Mm-hmm. You're going to have less back pain.
Yeah. Lifestyle.
Yeah. All right.
This is controversial, but how many games / high-level CrossFit people you think are on stuff? Some people think a lot are. You've seen, like,
I think there's definitely some.
Yeah.
100% there's some. I think you can get really good, just like any sport, at cycling on and off and knowing when you can and can't. I mean, I know Colt Mertens, who has trained at our gym for a long time. I know he's definitely not on anything. Mm-hmm. And he's a freak. He's getting better and better all the time. So I know that it's possible. I don't know what percentage I'd even guess.
Mm-hmm. Lower than people think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just me hoping. I hope for the sport that it's lower than people think.
Yeah.
I would say there's probably more guys than girls, but with us, like I said, it was going in the direction where everybody wanted to compete, so I think it was getting probably more and more popular. And now it's to the fact that we're like, you're just mainly your high-level people. You're not getting as many, like, middle ground people who are trying to compete and get to the games and trying to reach a level that maybe they're not genetically predisposed for.
People don't generally understand the level of misery though. Like when you were training,
Yeah.
when you were training
Yeah.
to be on the team, like you were fucking miserable.
That,
It's like
yeah, and that was it. That was the focus. You know, that was it. There wasn't a
you're
lot else.
grinding.
Yeah.
It's not like
The sacrifices.
this is easy.
And then you look at like an Annie Thorisdottir, and she's been doing it for like 10 years, and she had a kid, and now she's coming back and doing it, and still that good. And the sacrifices that you make, they're incredible, and how they can bounce back and still have the drive to do it. That's the most impressive part. But there's definitely some people.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Anybody stronger than you is on
For
steroids.
sure.
I think it's hard because people.
I've had people
assume
ask me that
yeah.
before, and I'm like, really? Not so much.
Yeah. Well, it's people that like have full-time jobs and others like I don't think people understand how much time you're spending training and like recovering.
And recovering, we talked about that. That's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
How much time Colt spends training every day. I mean, he's doing 3 WODs a day. He's doing multiple lifts a day. But how much time he spends recovering every night. And he's putting more emphasis on sleep now that he's getting a little older. He's not the 20-year-old that can do that as much anymore. And he spends a lot of time on the mental side of it, too. Like, he reads books all the time. Loves reading books or listens to podcasts or stuff like that. That's just the one that I know that's the high-level athlete. So he's kind of the one that I look at. I know he's not on anything performance-enhancing, and I know that he works his ass off, and that is his focus.
This
Well,
is the
the
pig
pigs,
farmer?
of course.
Yeah.
Yes, because he farms pigs, yes. That's why it's impressive, though. So he goes and he works on the farm all day. He's up at 4:30 in the morning, and he goes and he works, and he tends these pigs, and he does farm work all day. Stop maybe at noon, and he goes and works out in an unair-conditioned, unheated garage. He does wall balls in the snow. He does rope climbs from a tree. Like, he is, like,
Mentally,
it's
that's
just
pretty,
badass, yeah, right? And then all these other CrossFitters you look at, and they're training in a gym in the same environment all the time. Cole doesn't have music half the time. He doesn't have the environment. There's no one training next to him to push him. And then he goes and he works with the pigs some more. He does this on the farm. And then he works out, basically for 2-3 hours at night. Eats dinner. There's his recovery. He goes to bed. Does it all over again the next day.
It's very strong mentally, it sounds like.
Yeah. He's a tough-ass kid. It's pretty cool.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
different out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. We
Yeah,
have those
yeah.
kind of people in Iowa that pig farm.
Wrestlers and
Yeah.
you're responsible for your own shit. So
Yeah.
fucking just do it.
And the only one that's going to make you better is you.
Something's broke, you fix it.
Sooner you accept it, I guess, the better.